Hello, everybody. There's only 3 more episodes left of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. After this, it's only 2. So we have made it to the last and technically series finale of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We have made it to Wanted, Bebop and Rocksteady. So this is another crossover with the 80s Turtles. I was wondering if we were ever going to see a crossover again with the 80s Turtles, since the last crossover they did, it was pretty good. I've already reviewed it on my channel. They basically team up to fight against Krang. This time, they're going up against Shredder. We didn't see Shredder last time. And this time, Shredder is voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, the 2012 Shredder. But it's nice that Kevin Michael Richardson voices that version of Shredder, even though we got the James Avery, rest in peace, who voiced the original 80s Shredder. And he does a phenomenal job of impersonating that 80s Shredder, just sounding like the goofiness of that version of Shredder. But the plot is where Krang and Shredder are getting tired of dealing with the Turtles, so they have decided to find a new Bebop and Rocksteady as they take the Technodrome to the 2012 Turtles world. And they even leave behind the two after the two were on a mission. So Krang and Shredder go to Earth 7, it's called. That's the 2012 world. And Shredder feels pretty solid, and it's cool seeing him in CGI form, with Krang back in his CGI form. But I wonder what Bebop and Rocksteady would look like. The 80s ones would look like if they came to the 2012 world. It'd be interesting. Now, I never thought about this until now. But they're looking for new recruits. But meanwhile, the Turtles are bored at their house, the Turtle Lair. Mikey's just hanging out with Ice Cream Kitty, watching Space Heroes for the 5th time. And they even watched like a scene where Captain Ryan sees like an evil version of himself. It's meant to be like the parallel Earths. It's going to be reflected later when the Turtles meet their 80s counterparts. But Mikey's bored playing a sort of Pokemon parody. Raph's beating up a body bag, like a sort of, the punching bag he uses. Donnie's trying to work on an experiment, but he's just bored because he can't find anything to really use because there's no Shredder level threat, Krang level threat. And so far, he's just making a floating toaster or some sort. And Leo is meditating, and he's trying to talk to Master Splinter again, saying how inner peace for the past few weeks have just been super dull for Leo, which is understandable. But the Turtles are seeking adventure, and they have realized that they don't have any threats anymore. Shredder's gone, the Foot's gone, the Krang are good now. There's no Krang Prime or Subprime. The Triceratons are gone. So, the Turtles don't really have an enemy anymore. And, there's still maybe some, bad guys like the Purple Dragons, but those aren't really Shredder-level threats. So, the Turtles seek adventure. But while that's all going on, we are seeing what Bebop and Rocksteady are up to. So, the two are trying to find a new job since they're running low on food. And they're also super bored as well. And so they look in the newspaper and they end up finding a job from Shredder and Krang. And so they get their headshots and they get their resume. And Rocksteady ends up doing it in Krang, which was funny. And they end up meeting up with the 80s Shredder and Krang. And they even acknowledge, why do they look like Shredder and Krang? And then Shredder's like, because we are Krang, and we are Shredder and Squishy Krang thing. I thought that line was pretty funny, but they are recruited to be the new Bebop and Rocksteady, since the other ones in the 80s world, they're kind of dumb. But while that's all going on, the 80s Turtles end up going to the 2012 dimension, and they even encounter 80s Bebop and Rocksteady, and they wonder where they went, and they have no clue. But the Turtles use their portal gun, and they get to the 2012 world. I'm sorry I have to keep using the 2012 and 80s Turtles, but that's how it is. But the 80s, the turtles realize they have to stay stealthy since they realize their world's completely different from the 2012 world. But what happens next is they are actually ambushed by Bebop and Rocksteady, who have also gained their new gear to wear. They are wearing like what they look like in the 80s world. Bebop's wearing a jacket. His Rocksteady looks more like a soldier, like a crazy army man. But they managed to fight the 80s turtles. But while that's all going on, Leo decides to stop a mugging, someone robbing a store, and Leo takes the guy out with a sword and saying it's a school night. And this is actually the first time we've seen that version of the turtles wear a trench coat, since they're never really known for really wearing disguises. But Leo's bummed that he didn't feel much taking out that goon, and he feels the city just doesn't need them anymore. But while that's going on, Mikey witnesses the fight between the 80s turtles and 2012 Bebop and Rocksteady. And I even like how the 2012 Bebop and Rocksteady ended up acknowledging the 80s turtles as having belt buckles, and how funny that is, how silly it is. But the turtles try to fight them, but Bebop and Rocksteady are too tough for them. And he ends up kidnapping them and almost shooting them, but Raph's like, hey, this is a kid show, you can't kill us. And I just love the fourth wall breaking Raphael used to do in the 80s show, where he'd just be like, hey, we're professionals, this is a kid show, we better be careful, we can't swear in the show. Like, I always loved it when that version of Raph did that. But Bebop and Rocksteady decide to take the 80s turtles to the Shredder and Krang, and they're starting to figure out how, like, kind of dumb 80s Shredder and Krang are, but they end up getting money, so they kind of just forget about it. But Mikey ends up witnessing those turtles get kidnapped, and I even like how Bebop's like, do you guys ever shut up? But when they're locked in a cage in the Technodrome, the turtles decide to track it. They end up sneaking into the Technodrome. They even ask, why is it a giant ball? Like, why does it have a foot painted on it? But they sneak into the Technodrome, and they even acknowledge there's no security, which is kind of a retcon, because the Technodrome did have security in the 80s show. But they see the turtles have been captured, and so they try to rescue them. But the turtles, those 80s turtles, interrupt the 2012 turtles by saying, hey, you can't help us, you're posers. That's what Raph says, and 2012 Raph's like, hey, we're trying to help you. But Leo screaming turtle power ends up interrupting their rescue, and they ends up leading to a fight between the 2012 turtles and Bebop and Rocksteady. But of course they lose because Bebop and Rocksteady have more advanced weapons now. And even Mikey tries to fight Bebop, but he uses like a bubble gun on Mikey, but he ends up using like a device that can float Mikey away. But he ends up defeating the 2012 turtles, and they get liquefied, and that's the cliffhanger. So yeah, this episode was a lot of fun for sure. It's nice seeing the interaction between Bebop and Rocksteady have with the 80s Shredder and Krang. It's nice to see Kevin Michael Richardson voice Shredder again, even though the turtles are even getting tired of seeing Shredder. But yeah, it's nice that it also acknowledges how the turtles don't really have any villains anymore. So it makes sense these are the last 3 episodes of the show, since there's really no threat anymore. Since the turtles have done everything they could in this show. So I'd probably give this episode, why not, a 10 out of 10. That seems a little nice, but hey, why not? It's a fun episode. So the next episode I'm definitely going to be excited to talk about, since we're definitely going to get more interactions between these 2 versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I can't wait to talk about it. So that being said, thanks for watching, and Turtle Power!